then went straight into its target. Now, this is not possible for a person who has been trained on a light aircraft to be able to do this.
Yes,
and
sir.
then there is no mention of the second aircraft. So there are a number of things which remain unanswered.
Yes, sir.
Whenever the journalists come and visit me here and I ask them these questions, that why haven't you taken the answers about this? They say that patriotic act comes in the way, and we are not supposed to ask such questions.
General, we are talking to General Hamid Gul, the former head of Pakistani ISI during the key period fighting the Russians. He was also, before he was the head of ISI, one of the chiefs, according to our media, running operations against the Russians, and of course working with the United States closely, as well as the Saudi Arabians and the British. If that's incorrect, correct me. General Gul, what are the motives? We have PNAC with Dick Cheney saying they need a Pearl Harbor event. We have 44,000 U.S. troops massing in Tajikistan and Uzbekistan in the days before 9/11. We have Bush on September 10th, Newsweek reported, ordering the launch of attacks the next week. We have, of course, the buildings being blown up with explosives and all of the witnesses to that. Now the government admits that Building 7 did fall in free fall, was not hit by a plane. Specifically, sir, motives. Why would the military-industrial complex controlling the United States, why would they stage a 9/11 attack?
Well, I think after the Cold War, when Reaganomics, it was known as, the inflation was very high and the domestic issues had to be addressed. But Bill Clinton's 2 tenures, they really amassed a lot of money. American economy went booming, and he left a lot of money. And the hard-boiled cold warriors, when they came in, they found that the situation was ready. They had money and they had resources, and they looked upon now the conquest of the world, for which there was an opportunity window. The Muslim world was lying prostrate. Russia was not still picking up from its foreign position. China was not ready yet, and therefore they looked upon it as an opportunity to go and do the following. And in this, I'm a soldier and I know that there has to be a single aim, but they mixed up the aims and they have botched up everything. First, they said that they would go into such strategic areas where there was no U.S. presence before, such as the Western Asia and South Asia, where there was no American physical presence, and they wanted it there. They had to keep the Chinese off from getting into the Middle East. They had to lay their hands on the energy tap of the world, which presently lies in the Middle East, but in future it will be in Central Asia, and so Afghanistan is the gateway to Central Asia. And finally, to suppress any resistance, particularly which could threaten the state of Israel. Now that is where they, instead of pursuing the American objectives, they started pursuing the Israeli objectives, and that is where they went wrong. You have to pick up a single aim. This is the first principle of war, and I don't know why the generals and the politicians of America, they could be so naive and so ignorant that they started mixing aims, and they went into this war without wisdom, without particular preparation, and without the American support behind them. Because if they had gone to vote and asked for support from the American people, they would have never given this support. So they had to create a pretext, and this was the pretext that they created.
General, we're going to break in a moment and come back with a final segment. Perhaps I can get you to stay a little bit longer, because I want you to be able to speak unedited to the American people and the people of the world. I want to shift gears into Mumbai, what happened in India. Clearly the evidence of even the Indian intelligence chief, as you know, was saying that the Indian government was staging terror attacks on the train. An army captain was caught doing that and arrested. The chief of anti-terror was threatened. He was killed that day when it started in Mumbai. Now they have caught an anti-terror police officer giving cell phones to the supposed terrorists that they're saying came from Pakistan. We know the West is deeply in bed with some of the blocks of the former Mujahideen. Can you speak to that? General?
Can you hear me? I can't hear you properly, but can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. When we come back, we will speak to what happened in India. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Good. Why they are staging terror attacks there, the evidence of false flag inside job in India. So when we return after this quick break with the former head of Pakistani intelligence, General Hamid Gul, joining us from Pakistan. I am coming to you from Austin, Texas, hence the phone troubles. We'll work on those, sir, during the break. We will be right back. My websites, of course, are INFOWARS.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back with this exclusive interview.
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost.
We are back live. It is December 9th, 2008. General Hamid Gul, one of the most famous members of and commanders of Pakistani intelligence, who worked with the United States in the whole operation against the Russians, was the commander of those operations, is our guest with us graciously until 40 after. General, not wasting any more time, I listed earlier the fact that Indian intelligence captains in the Army have been caught in India staging bombings. That's Indian news. That Indian intelligence and police have been caught giving cell phones to the supposed shooters. The police stood down, and only the anti-terror commanders that had said that India was staging terror, they were killed in the initiation of the attacks in Mumbai. That's some of the evidence of Mumbai being an inside job. Namely, why do you believe Mumbai is a staged event 2 weeks ago, A? And B, what is the motive?
Well, the motive is very simple, that Americans want Indians to come on board with them in their war against terror, especially when they have run out of troops in Afghanistan. The NATO allies are pulling out. They are dragging their feet. They are not prepared to fight there, but they want to make it an Indian cause, and they want nearly 150,000 troops in Afghanistan. That is one reason where there is an American motive. There is an Israel motive, which is similar, that the Americans should not pull out of Afghanistan just because they are short of troops, so they must have more troops there, because if they go away without denuclearizing Pakistan, state of Israel will remain under perpetual danger. So they have an innate fear that Americans may lose heart and pull out of this region. They are already going out of Iraq, and if they were to go out of Afghanistan as well, this will be an unfinished agenda, and that Israel would be at the losing end. So the neocons and the Zionists, they together want to hatch a conspiracy so that Obama gets trapped into a situation where for next 4 years he'll keep on sorting out this imbroglio. As far as the ability is concerned, which is the other element, can you imagine that people traveling from Karachi in 2 rickety boats, they can travel all the way to Bombay and then go into action immediately and fight a battle for 72 hours, and there are just 10 of them, and in each group there were 2. This is impossible. They were carrying so much of munitions with them, and that munition lasted. They were fighting virtually the crack troops of the Indian Army for so long. And you know that in Narima House, the 5 Jewish hostages, they were killed by the Indian commandos. They were not killed by these people. So why would the Indian commandos kill them? And Israelis suppressed this information. It initially came out in one of the Israeli dailies, but then it was suppressed. So if you go by the record of the Indian accusations against Pakistan, in the past, in year 2001, on December 13, there was an attack on the Indian Lok Sabha, and they blamed Pakistan and Lashkar-e-Taiba for it, but it turned out that these were Indian Kashmiris themselves. And because India is committing so much of atrocities in Kashmir, therefore there is a good reason for them that they would carry out something like that. Then they again in 2006 there was this Samjhauta Express case in which 68 passengers, mostly Pakistanis, were killed, and this train was stopped at an obscure railway station in Haryana, and then doors were locked and the train was set on fire. And again this was the claim that it was Pakistani Lashkar-e-Taiba and that they had done it because they wanted to derail the peace process. But now Colonel Sirikant Prohat has been caught in it, and there are other Indian officers who are his accomplices, and he has a big network. They took the RDX from Deolali depot, which is a military depot. So one can say that there is a deep penetration of the militant Hindus in military and intelligence organization in India. So in this case, why would they not do that?